We are going to beat Ohio State or die trying. That is a quote from Jim Harbaugh that he just said in the Big Ten Media Day. And then this episode, we are going to cover Michigan, give you a little overview, analysis, maybe take a peek at their schedule, let you guys know what players to watch. We did Georgia last episode. We're moving on to Michigan. Both my brother and I have been big Michigan fans for quite some time. So this is the team you probably know the most about. So I hope you guys enjoy the content. Per usual, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, follow the Twitter account. We appreciate all the support we've gotten over the last couple of months. And without further ado, Dill, lead us into talking about some Michigan football.
So I have basically washed out last year from my mind. I treat it as if it didn't happen, and I
don't blame
I
me.
think that's a fair way to think about it. It's just like nothing's going to be similar. Where it's about time probably we had some overturn in coaches, especially on the defensive side, because you think about where we started in 2016, 2015 when Don Brown and Jim came in, it's been a steady decline on the defensive side of the ball. And I don't know, it's just a very stale defense Don Brown plays. He blitzes every play and leaves guys in man coverage on islands. And that's just, he does it every time. There's no variety. So yeah, I think it was about time for him to go. I think it was about time for Zordich at the defense, the secondaries coach. Sorry, his time was definitely up, and it's good to see a little bit of turnover because that really wasn't a good enough year last year. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we get out of these new younger coaches.
Yeah, I think we've done a lot of overviews for a lot of different teams in the past month. I'm gonna move my camera a little bit to the left so that blur. We've done a lot of different overviews for teams in the past month, and some you can take more from what we saw last year. For a team like Michigan, I think it's going to look a lot different. New coaching staff. I mean, we got a lot of new players coming in, a lot of players out the door. The defense particularly is going to look a lot different, and so to kind of take from what we saw last year is going to be hard. However, there are some players that kind of flashed, and we'll talk about those as we get further into the episode. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball, as we normally do at that quarterback position. Jim said that Cade McNamara is QB1 going into fall camp, which they should be starting in the next couple weeks. Actually, next week. What do you think about that, D?
I don't put any stock in that. Jim's notoriously anti give up any sort of
I was surprised
information. Yeah, but that's why I think it's probably not true.
Oh, no, I think it's true.
I think the only practical thing you can do right now is have Alan Bowman start for a year and bring in JJ McCarthy as a sophomore, or start JJ McCarthy and play him 3 straight years, because there's no shot. If Cade plays this year and he's the starter, what are you going to have him not start next year? Like the whole thing wouldn't make any sense. There's just no way he can possibly start. It has to be Bowman or I personally would love to see McCarthy just like let him go, give him the keys. Like he's kind of he's got to be our savior in a sense. I liken him to what Deshaun Watson was able to do at Clemson. Like we need someone to take us over the hump, and it's got to be him. So I'd just as soon give him the ball this year. But if you're gonna wait a year, it's got to be Bowman. Can't be Cade, because then what? We're gonna have JJ for a year.
Yeah, and my thoughts are how are we the best team next year? I think it's with Cade McNamara at quarterback. From what I've heard, and obviously Michigan's always uptight about spring camp and what's been going on, but from what I've heard, JJ is flashy, makes some extraordinarily good plays, but also like that consistency isn't quite there because he hasn't really played much any college football. And so I would expect for a year from now, this is a totally different situation and conversation, and JJ is the guy. What you're saying is right, though. If we start Cade this year, like
Cade's not a pro. He's just not going to be a draft pick this year. There's no shot.
It's not even even when we're talking about college, like his ceiling is just not that high. I think he's got the highest floor out of these guys because
I actually don't hate him I don't hate him as a college quarterback. I just think that right now in the situation that we're in, he's he can't afford to be a bridge guy because he's not gonna leave this year, and there's no shot we cannot be playing McCarthy as a sophomore.
Yeah, and then Alan Bowman's interesting because he didn't come into the summer. Obviously transfer from Texas Tech. Texas Tech stunk. They throw the ball a lot, so he has decent stats. I don't know if he's that guy. We've had transfers like John O'Corn, like that's never really worked. And so I've heard a lot of traction that he's going to be QB1. I would be very surprised if he's trotted out there week 1 against Western Michigan. But yeah, I think we're either going to see Cade or JJ. As a fan, if JJ's ready, I want to see him play, give him that experience. He's obviously, I think you're right. He's going to be, if we're going to take that step, beat Ohio State, win a Big Ten title, it's going to be because JJ's leading us. And the last thing we want is not starting JJ and having him transfer, which I think that's not really an option. He seems like he rides for Michigan, but bringing in he's got good wide receivers. So I don't know. I want to see JJ, but I have a feeling we'll see Cade. I think either way, I think the quarterback play is going to be a lot better than what we saw with Joe Milton last year.
Yeah, I just don't see practicality of Cade. I just don't get what is Cade getting then after transfer next year? I don't know.
That would be fair, though. I mean, I wouldn't
take it 2 straight years.
I wouldn't blame Cade if he says like he plays this year, plays well, and then gets an offer to go play somewhere else. Where I mean, I like that dude. And I want to see him play.
I like him
but
too.
He's not going to play over.
It's a weird spot. It's a weird
tough spot.
So.
We're gonna see what we do. Jim needs to hit on a quarterback. I think that's like the biggest thing he's missed on. It's nice to have a couple options. And so we'll see. Ideally, he can get it together. I think what I'm really excited for is this running back room that's going to be lining up to whoever is under center in the shotgun. Blake Corum, Hassan Haskins, and Donovan Edwards, a true freshman. I mean, this might be the best running back room in the Big Ten. Hassan Haskins, a little overview of my initial thoughts on all the 3 of these guys. Hassan Haskins is kind of like the bell cow, most complete back. He runs the ball. It's not like flashy, but he runs the ball hard. I mean, he had a 6.1 average per carry, scored 6 touchdowns. That's in comparison to Blake Corum's 3 yards per carry last year, which I'm not taking too much stock into. Blake Corum's my guy, though. I think Blake Corum has the potential to be a really, really good running back. He's got 4.4 speed, reportedly. Obviously,
he has it. I think when you watch him play, he.
100%. I'm not saying he doesn't. That's just I've heard it. He's been lasered. Well, you said he can shake people too. Like that low center of gravity. You've seen videos of him just putting people on skates. Very good contact balance, and then he runs the ball freaking hard for somebody who's 5'8". Like he's yoked up, runs the ball with an attitude. I think he can be special for this team. I'm excited to see him with another year under his belt. He was already a dog coming in, but like he looks so good on Instagram. I mean, not to put too much stock into a body, but like he looks like I would not want to tackle him. I don't think anybody wants to tackle him. And then we got Donovan Edwards, who also has a tremendous ceiling. He'll be a true freshman. He came in early. He's got his body's ready to go. And so these 3 guys are just, I mean, all 3 of them would be starters on a lot of football teams.
I want to see Corum. I want to see Corum bad. I think he's the guy who's this year has potential to really be dynamic. And I love Hassan Haskins. I love how he runs it. And he's going to get his touches, but I want to see Corum take a much more pronounced role in that backfield than he did last year, which he got his touches, but it was like very sporadic. I want to see him at worst kind of splitting time with Hassan Haskins and mixing Edwards in if he's ready. Obviously, we don't know much about him besides that he's a super talented freshman. So,
yeah, I think that's probably how I'd handle it. I think Haskins probably a little bit better between the tackles, a little bit bigger body, not necessarily strong, but just bigger. Blake Corum is a little bit better in space in my mind. But yeah, give them both. I want both of them having 10 plus touches a game in creative ways. Blake Corum's really good out of the backfield too. So that running back room is like the least of the worries. I think we should go up front and let's talk about this offensive line because I think that was the biggest problem last year. Obviously, we're losing Jalen Mayfield, which hurts. Although
We didn't really have
we
him
didn't really have him
last
last year
year.
much. What do you think? What do you think the depth chart? What do you think the starting five are? Give us it from left tackle to right
Left to
tackle.
right, I think it's
Yeah.
going to be Ryan Hayes, Trevor Keegan.
Yeah,
It seems like it's going to be Zinter this year. At
Yeah,
center,
they like
although
Zinter.
I think that's a tough one to judge. And then I think it's going to be Stuber, and I think it's going to be Carson Barnhart. That's what I'd probably like to see, just in terms of.
Yeah.
It feels like Stuber might play right tackle again, but I don't love him there. And I think he's a legit NFL draft pick as a guard, not like I picked, but a later round pick as a guard. I think he's really good there, and he's definitely not athletic enough to be a tackle, but I love his game at guard. I think Carson Barnhart is athletic enough if he can put it together.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd like to see. I think the left is pretty locked up. I think those two.
I do too. I think Ryan Hayes and
Trevor Keegan came on. He was a mauler last year. I loved his game. I think those two are locked. I think center is kind of locked from the sense I get, and then I think the right we'll see. Stuber is going to play somewhere. I'm hoping it's guard, but we'll see.
Me and Dill have talked about this a lot off camera. I think I agree. The left side's locked up. At center, I mean, Vistardis I like, but we've seen what he can do, and it's not. I mean, I don't know how much better he's going to get in the next year.
Yeah, he's a bit of a snoozer.
Yeah, Zach Zinter, though. Zach Zinter, you can see him developing into an All-American interior lineman, and people have said that within the Michigan program. The problem with Zach Zinter, in my mind, is he was so bad last year. I mean, he did not look like he belonged. He was slow picking things up. He was getting bullied. That being said, he was a true freshman. And so
he was a true freshman who was not a super high recruit, nor was did he look like he was a developed man? There's guys who come in from high school who look like college players and just were athletically really gifted and grew up really fast. I don't actually think Zinter was exactly that guy, so I think there was room to develop him on some level more than maybe an Isaiah Wilson at Georgia. When he came in, he was 345 pounds, looked like a full-grown man, was kind of ready to go physically. Maybe like a Zion Nelson at Miami. He didn't come in as a fully grown man. He grew into his body, made just the biggest jump you could possibly imagine from his freshman year to his sophomore year. So you hope, assuming that they're right and they pegged him right on in terms of his talent and his capabilities at Michigan, which they do love him. So
they love him, and I don't get it.
I think there's a lot more of a jump to do than you think. You're putting your whole life in his play as a freshman, but it's very obvious that he wasn't, to me, physically ready or fully developed by that point. So
I know, but then why is he playing? I just was there.
He stunk last year up front.
Yeah, that's what I guess. And you want
and we were hurt.
I'll actually give you I want to see when we're going into Penn State and what's our record, 2-3 or 2-2. I'm fine, just throw in Zinter, see what he has. I wasn't that impressed. And so I guess
poorly last year.
I guess my final thought on Zinter is I don't get where they they must be seeing something in winter workouts and spring camp because it wasn't in the fall. It wasn't in the fall. But I'm excited to see what he has, and I'm excited to see all the hype. So I think we might see him at center. I think obviously his ceiling's higher than Vistardis.
I mean, at the end of the day, he didn't get any spring. He got a really watered down fall, and then you send him in and he's not the starter. So even when they were practicing midweek most of the times, he wasn't taking reps. So it's everything worked against him, including the fact that I don't think he was athletically.
Yeah.
Not that to say he's not talented, but he's not a fully grown.
He's not full grown
adult. In last year, you just didn't look. His body didn't look there. So it's I don't know. You don't think that there's certainly room for a massive jump. I think.
There's room. I'm optimistic. Like I'm rooting for him. I want to see him. I want to see him be an All-American interior guy. So that's at center. Right guard Chuck was another guy who he's a redshirt senior this year, and he was not good. Like he wasn't. For his
Yeah,
size, I think
that's
he goes 340, and he was just
you
not
just
moving
can't he
bodies.
can't play he can't start. I mean, he was
No.
playing mostly left guard last year, just wasn't good enough.
Yeah, so we have. I think you're right. It's either Stubbs and Carson Barnhart are the next two up, and they both can do. I would want to see Stube play tackle because we've seen it. I think he can do it. We've seen both. I don't know. I don't care.
But they're not going to play Barnhart at guard.
Yeah,
I think they made that like very clear that
and
he's
then
not playing
Rumler,
guard at the school.
and I was excited about Rumler. He doesn't seem like he's gotten much traction.
He hasn't clicked. He didn't play at all last year, which
No.
makes I think he's going to be the backup.
And then another guy who I'm just a little bit like I'd like this like Trent Jones.
Yeah,
Good
super high
body,
recruit
just
talent.
hasn't really been talked about. He's coming into his third year, I believe. So we'll see what he has he's just a good depth guy. And then obviously Giovanni Ahadi. I don't know if he'll be ready either, but he's another good recruit. So a couple guys. I think at the end of the day, you can only start 5. I think we have 7 or 8 guys who can play football there, at that offensive line spot. And so I just hope they can put out a better unit than we saw last year.
Oh, it's going to be way better because last year was a joke.
Because that's also a thing. Like I don't want to send out JJ McCarthy to just get wrecked. Like it just wouldn't be fair to him.
No.
So
well, yeah.
And a lot of these guys, but I think we will be better. So
different.
Let's move on.
Too.
Let's move on to let's move on to the pass catchers, which is also like a really exciting group. I think
it's a weird group. I think
so. It is a weird group. Yeah,
you got like 4 or 5 guys who are all very not similar, but like kind of at the level starting level players. Like,
yeah, I have 6 guys.
Oh.
I got Cornelius Johnson at like the X. I think Roman Wilson could play like the Z on the other side, and then you could put Ronnie Bell in the slot. But I think Mike Sandstrom can also play really well in the slot. We saw him really play well freshman year, his true freshman year.
Big regression.
And then didn't really. I don't know. He didn't even play. Like he didn't play much.
He wasn't playing well when he played.
You got AJ Henning, who I also love and just absolutely can blaze. So I'm excited to see how they use him. He's a little bit more like I wouldn't mind seeing him get like.
I want to see way more out of him. Yeah,
I want to see him get the touches Josh Jackson got. Like give him some touches in space and let him be an athlete. And then you got that transfer, Dalen Baldwin. Who
he's different.
All I needed to hear was he goes to Ohio State, he works out for them, and they offer him on the spot. That Ohio State wide receiver room has like 10 guys who could be All-Americans. And they offered another guy. They must have loved him. And we offered him on the spot the next day. So, this dude obviously can play. That's all I needed to know. 24/7.
And he wants to be here.
Yes, he's a Michigan boy. Yep. Yeah, for sure. So, those 6 guys, I don't know. I think we can say for sure, like, I think Ronnie and Mike Sandstrom are the slot guys. Like, I want to see them working inside the numbers. Cornelius Johnson's more of that X, and he's going to be a good X. Like, I'm excited.
I think, like, honestly, they all kind of, I think, can play besides Sandra still. I think they can all play.
But Ronnie Bell
every spot.
No, but I don't think Cornelius can come in. So I think Ronnie Bell's best.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
Roman Wilson, I also love. I thought he looked phenomenal. I thought he was probably our best wide receiver. Looked to be like the best wide receiver out of the young Bucks after Ronnie Bell.
Ronnie Bell had a sneaky great year last year.
Dude, Ronnie Bell's had a sneaky good career. Like he doesn't nearly get the respect. Everybody wants to talk about like Giles Jackson, Donovan Peoples. Like Ronnie Bell's
good.
Ronnie Bell's fucking been that. Excuse my language. Like he's been a dog. And so like I think he'll just be solid as usual. A couple freshmen, obviously, Christian Dixon and Angelo Anthony. I don't think there's not really much room for them to play. And then I wish we had Xavier Worthy, man. That's just brutal.
No, I'm not going there with the administration.
Yeah, again, we have a lot of depth there. That's like 6 guys we named who I would be very happy to see play. I hope they can. I think what needs to happen at better rate with this coaching staff is like identify the best players and have them play. because like that we haven't been doing the best job of that. Like Trevor Keegan should have been playing from week 1.
Yeah, that's crazy. Looking at how good he was when he came into those games, he was awesome. Like really, he was our best
Yeah.
lineman probably besides Mayfield.
And I guess one other thing I want to add is at that tight end position, Eric All he's going into his 3rd year too, in which really you see those jumps in that 2nd and 3rd year. I want to see him have that jump.
He needs a better year. He didn't catch the ball last year.
He does it all. Like he's a good blocker. He's strong, good blocker, runs really well. He just doesn't catch the ball. He's like Evan Ingram from the Giants. Like
yeah, he couldn't catch last year.
You need to have a tight end who can catch over the middle. Like that. It's so big to have a tight end who has reliable hands and a good catch radius, and he can do that. He just needs to be more consistent. And I also wouldn't sleep on Luke Schoonmaker. I think he's like he hasn't. I'm surprised he hasn't transferred out yet because of Eric All.
Yeah, I agree. He didn't play last year though.
Yeah, I mean, like I think he can play too. So like,
but he's got talent. I agree.
I don't mean
big athletic.
I don't mean to like how good our offense was when Gentry played. Like Gentry made our offense better. And Eubanks just wasn't it. I was never a big fan of Eubanks. I don't really think he offered that much. I don't think he was a good enough athlete to separate. He wasn't like a great like contested catcher. He was solid, but that's all he was.
No, he didn't do a whole lot. Yeah.
Eric All's ceiling is way, way higher. So yeah, that's our thoughts on the offense. I think this can be a way better unit. I'm excited to see Josh Gaddis get into more of a rhythm with play calling. I think the first year we saw just no rhythm. They had to like kind of change their whole identity as an offense. Second year,
little tough year. Just got such bad play out of Joe Milton. It just derailed everything.
But you could see we're trying to do a little bit more on the perimeter, some swing passes.
There's just nothing you can do when you have a quarterback who's throwing 3 picks.
And we didn't run the ball well. Like we just didn't run the ball well.
Offensive line bad. Just bad year. Really bad.
Yeah, exactly. So that is what it is. I think the offense is going to be better. I'm optimistic. I'm excited to see who we're going to play at quarterback. And in terms of sports betting, Michigan's, for the first time ever, is underrated.
Yeah, they're treating us.
Like people are just 6. I'm seeing 6-6 consistently. Like they're going to be a better team than that, in my opinion. I mean, as a Michigan fan, I'm going in. We're going to beat everybody. Am I saying to you guys they're a top 5, top 10 team? I don't know if I go that far, but they're way better than the national media is giving them credit for. So we'll see. I'm guessing we'll see some decent lines. Looking at Washington week 1, we're underdogs and they're coming to the big house. Could be an interesting game to look at. Anyways, let's get on to the defense. We'll start up front with some guys that we've heard about in the offseason having a lot of potential and just haven't really panned out. Chris Hinton, Don Jeter, Mozzie Smith. Chris Hinton.
Strong disagree on Chris Hinton not having panned out.
I haven't. I don't mean to say. I'll take that back.
He's really good.
Bad language. I meant just we've heard a lot about him, and like I think Hinton was good last year, and if he takes a step, he's going to be a problem.
Hinton's ready to explode because he was like got way better from freshman to sophomore, and now you think he makes another jump, he'll be a man.
And that's what you expect, like especially at a position kind of like what we're talking about Zach Zinner. Like you come as an 18-year-old kid, you're not a grown man yet. I mean, then you're battling in the trenches with like 5th-year seniors who have been in a Power 5 weight room for 5 years. Like, that's a man versus a boy. Hinton quickly turned into a man after his freshman.
Hinton, he was a develop. He was a 5-star player. He came in closer to that like true freshman ready level play. I mean, he didn't play great as a freshman.
Yeah, I think.
But like, he turned it up last year and played really well.
Yeah, I think he carries the weight, but I've seen him on his Instagram working out. I mean, just because you're big doesn't mean you're a man. Like you can carry a lot of like Zinner kind of he like carries weight that I wouldn't say was like a grown man. Chris Hinton, I wouldn't say was a grown man his freshman year, but he definitely was his sophomore year. Like in this year, I think he'll put it all together and be a first team All Big Ten selection. Definitely has it in him. Mozzie Smith's more the guy that you want to see. Like
you need some play. I agree.
And it's just that I mean, we don't. Again, this is interesting. I guess we should have started this before we talked about specific players we like. We don't really know what this defense is going to look like. All I can tell you, I've Hutchinson said it too. It's not going to be like a base 4-3 with like just man coverage. You know what I mean? We're
You
not going to
can't
line up.
anymore.
We're not going to line up like Madden. We're not getting our plays off Madden anymore.
I'm hoping we play it like the pros do, where you just different look every time. That's just like if you watch Ravens games from last year, like they never lined up. Just as a aside, like that's our new defensive coordinator is the Ravens' old linebacker coach. So just looking at how they played, like really never playing very similar looks play to play, and there's a reason NFL teams do it.
If you're gonna do that, and you're gonna do it successfully, you need to have some of those edge guys. So like looking at like what I think the Steelers do it really well with TJ Watt. Like he normally rushes the passer, but he can be an athlete in space. So if
I disagree a little bit. I don't think we're gonna see it. I think you need versatile linebackers, like guys who can blitz and cover. That's I think more important than
a job was
TJ Watt doesn't drop back in deep, like those stud pass rushers drop back like maybe 5% of play if I had to guess. So I just don't think it matters. Like, do you need Hutchinson at the end to drop back? I don't think
not
you
saying
do.
that, but
Aiden
Hutchinson isn't.
Passer.
I'm not saying that. You're putting words in my mouth. Aiden Hutchinson. I'm talking more about Ajabo. He needs to be more like a versatile guy who kind of like Josh Uche was. Like, if you're going to be giving different looks, the players have to do different things. You know what I mean? Like if you want to mix up your looks as a defense, players need to be able to do different things, or else it's just going to be the same thing. I think someone like Ajabo really gives us that. Moving on to continuing with players like Ajabo's a guy I'm really excited to see play. I mean, he only played like 7 high school football games. He's a track athlete and got offers from all sorts of Big Ten schools because he's just a freak athlete. He's taken 2 years to develop. I think he'll be coming in ready to roll as kind of like I think he'll be. It's gonna be. I'm interested to see how we use him because I think he can do both. I think he can be really good in space, but I also think he has the tools to rush the passer at a really high level. So he's an interesting guy. And I don't know.
We got 2 new DNs coming in with Ojabo one, just 2 really guys you really want to have big years for Michigan, and Ojabo and Jalen Harrell's probably number 2.
I heard he has.
You know what we have on the one side with Hutchinson's really good, really dependable, plays the run, plays the pass, does everything right and at a really high level in college. And so I hope we have on the other side, somebody who can kind of come in and at least give us something close to what Kwity Paye has given us. And maybe as you were talking about, a little bit more versatility and the ability to play a little bit in space. Not that I think it's super important, because if they're really good pass rushers and you just want to use them to rush the passer, that's more ideal than having a tweener who does both. But they are good. They are better athletes probably than Hutch, both of them. Well, not probably, they definitely are. And
that's okay. That's
not better
fair.
players. Like,
that's
Hutch is sick. I love Aiden Hutchinson, but I'm looking forward to what those 2 have. And the big thing is can we get one other guy to step up with Hinton and be a really dominant force in the middle?
I think that'll be Don Jeter. He's in his redshirt senior year, and so I'm excited to see what he has. Me and Dill have talked about him for 3 years now. He was good last year, but like it took him 2 extra years but I thought he was good. And so I'm excited to see what he has. And there's a couple other guys on that defensive line that I think can provide like more depth. I think Hutch is kind of the guy, and I'm guessing we're gonna see Ajabo be the starter on the other side at that like DN outside linebackers.
I want to see Ojabo, but I don't know. I think Harrell was a bigger recruit. He's kind of a high school prep kid from Florida, so we'll see.
And then we also got Braden McGregor, who was probably the best recruit in that. We'll see what he has. So I think what it
coming
looks
off
like
a torn ACL his senior year of high school. So
Yeah. It took him a
two
little
springs
bit.
ago, but
Yeah.
but
And
yeah,
then
you're right. Big
Jordan
potential.
Jordan Whiteley, I think it's Whitley actually, from Oregon State. He's just a monster. That's just more depth. Have a guy who can kind of eat space, take on double teams in maybe like 3rd and 2 positions. I think that's where he's gonna kind of come in. I don't know if he'll be like a first down type of guy because I don't know how athletic he is, but I think we have a solid. Again, we're in this position where it's especially on defense because we're not really sure what it's gonna look like. We got 7, 8 guys on that D line who can play at a high level. And we'll see. And then maybe Rashawn Benny can sniff his way out of the field. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
see.
I doubt it because he is behind some good players. Some other guys that I would liked before we move on to linebackers. Think Gabe Newberg, Julian Welshoff can both make some noise. Just Spade, I don't think's that good.
Welshoff, I think, truly has potential as like a late down pass rusher in the middle because that's what he excelled at last year to me.
Yeah,
no, I think he's good enough to play like all down at D tackle, but I think where he really thrives, being a little bit leaner, a little bit more athletic, is probably that like late down, more athletes on the field rush to passer. I thought that's what where he looked good last year.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a position.
It's actually a deep unit.
We've recruited
deep
well
in the past.
We've
had a couple
well.
lean years there, but now we aren't gonna have to see some guys who look way out of place.
We've been so lean up front. We've been, inside. But we have Hinton, Don Jeter, Mozzie Smith, and
really hope he can get something out of Mozzie. He didn't really play last year, but he's a big player.
Let's move on to the backers. I think we know our Mike Barrett and Ross are going to be kind of the guys. Who are we going to see? I think Mullings has a good chance to be kind of a good player. Anthony Solomon, I've been excited for. I think he's dealt with some injuries there. And then Junior Collison, talking about guys who are ready to play football freshman year, like he's ready to play. He's a beast.
Yeah, he's physically looks good.
And again, for me to project I think those guys are going to be like the traditional middle linebackers, Ross and Mike Barrett. So we're not going to have that Viper position anymore. Mike McDonald says,
you don't think they're going to do it. I mean, Anthony Solomon would be closer to he's a light linebacker in a sense. He's probably only going to be around 210 pounds.
Well, I don't know if he'll play it's just weird because I don't really know what Mike McDonald's going to do with the personnel. So I
personally think it's very hard to play with 3 traditional linebackers, and I think very few teams do it. And
I agree. So I think it's going to be.
I wouldn't be stunned to see a walk-up safety because we do have some depth there of like Jordan Morant and God, I'm blanking on the other kid from New Jersey,
RJ Moten.
RJ Moten. Those are 2 guys who kind of have the body to play a more of a nickelback cover linebacker type role, but cover first, linebacker second, maybe if you think about it that way.
Yeah,
you're right. You get 2 very obvious linebackers. Mike Barrett was by far best defensive player last year.
He was the. I mean, I might even go as far as say he was the best player on our team that's returning.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, obviously Kwity Paye was probably the best. Like Mike Barrett, and he was the most consistent. Like Mike Barrett was out there every game playing really, really good football. I'm very excited to see what he has coming in. And I agree. I think we're gonna get away from the tradition, and what it was last year was a little bit more traditional with the three linebackers. Because Mike Barrett was playing that Viper spot, right?
But he's not really.
He's a linebacker, and same Khaleke Hudson Khaleke Hudson was the Viper. Linebacker. We didn't play a traditional Viper after like Jabril left because I don't think Khaleke was also a back. Like Khaleke was big. Khaleke was way too big.
He got huge in college. He just lifted too much weight. Didn't play football enough.
Yeah, so we'll see. I do think you're right. I think we play like 2 traditional linebackers and kind of have like a box safety call him maybe like a nickel corner. And I don't know who that'll be. I think what you said, RJ Moten's a good. Makari Page, I might be a little too small to be playing in the box.
Yeah, see, I think he's more of a true
Yeah.
safety.
But my problem with Makari Page is I want to see him play, but he won't play if we're healthy because Dax Hill and Hawkins will be that
It's
back
true.
end.
See, I don't think he needs to play this year. I didn't think he was great last year, so I'm not like itching to play him.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so let's
He doesn't
move.
like necessarily deserve a spot. And as we roll into the safeties, I mean corners, we'll get to them maybe right after the safeties. But I actually like the safeties. I think
The safeties
Daxton
are
Hill's a
sick.
wildly underrated player. I think he could put himself in an All-American position if he has a good year. And I think
100%.
he does everything. He tackles, he covers at a really high level for a safety.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about having a walk-up safety nickel. I don't want to remove Dax Hill from like the back. Dax Hill would borderline be our best cornerback. Like we could put him at corner, he might be our best corner. But like you want to put him in the spot where he's going to be best at, and that's the safety's position. But like when you were mentioning like having a walk-up safety who playing like that nickel. Like that was like Dax Hill. But I don't want to take him from the position that he's going to excel the most at. But Dax Hill's a beauty. And I think he's underrated because for one, Michigan was so bad last year. We didn't play that many games either. So like the stats aren't there either. And if you don't watch every game of film of Dax Hill, you don't appreciate how good he was. But I agree in a full year, like he's a first team Big Ten safety. And Brad Hawkins, quite frankly, I don't know if he's like a first teamer, but he's just super good. Redshirt senior. I was really happy he decided to come back because we're a little young there at safety because it would be like Dax Hill, and then the next guys up would be like Makari Page, RJ Moten, who are both true sophomores. So, I mean, I'm not worried. I mean,
safety, I actually think straight position.
With the injuries, we're deep there. Makari Page and RJ Moten are going to be good next year too. So, let's talk about the corners. That was obviously, if you guys watched Michigan football, was easily the biggest problem. Don Brown did not help them. He just kept putting them in man coverage, and like they couldn't do it. Don Brown said he didn't care and just kind of screwed him for a better term. I thought Gamon Green, he put it together a little bit towards the end of the year. I thought he was decent. I wouldn't necessarily go as far as good, but he was becoming not a liability the last couple of games. Vincent Gray was probably the biggest disappointment in Michigan's season.
Yeah, just a massive step back, like a solid year the year before, and then just to take that big of a leap back is just so disappointing.
He was so bad.
You don't know what happened. It's like he came in as a nobody knew him recruit. He was kind of late in the. I'm guessing like kind of didn't fill the scholarships up, and he got an offer. And I don't know if he like lost his edge when he started to get a taste of being like a guy. And the last year just was horrible. He was giving up penalties. God, it seemed like every drive. Couldn't play the ball
penalties
in the air.
Or getting beat. Yeah, it's just
wasn't sticky, wasn't tackling. He just didn't do anything good. Like Gamon Green, I thought actually.
So do you think there were some? Do you think Vinny Gray starts?
I don't know. I think not, honestly. I think
so. Who's starting?
And God knows who's going to start. It's like I think Jalen Perry could. I think DJ Turner could. It's like there's some guys who maybe, but I can't see him start. I just thought it was such a bad year. I don't know. I mean, new D secondary coach, and we'll see if he can. Maybe thinks there was some technical issues or whatever, but I don't know. You just can't be that type of player, especially the way he plays and not be able to play the football in the air because he's not ultra sticky ever. He's more of a longer, bigger, and he just doesn't make plays on the ball. So
and I see Vinny Gray being maybe a little bit better in more zone coverage schemes, which we'll see with Mike McDonald. So maybe he gets because when you're a little bit longer, it's easier to kind of make plays in those passing windows as opposed to having to stick on a guy's
head.
If
you're good enough at it,
which we'll see. We didn't see him play. I don't think we played zone like more than
I
10
just don't think
years,
he can
never
play
did
the
it.
ball. Like Gamon Green,
Yeah.
I think there were some unfortunate ones. It's like balls just going right by his hand. It's
Yeah.
oh man, like you're inches away from making a good play, and then
And
it's a
Gamon Green
touchdown.
he was sticky. Like
I mean,
he
Vinny
was
Bryant didn't play a single ball in the air at
yeah.
a level you would think in college. So I don't know what. Not a
Yeah,
great
so
athlete, never was,
and the only problem with like we're talking about the offensive line though so bad. Like we have guys who are coming in who we're excited about who think can play at a higher level. The cornerbacks I don't
I have
necessarily
some worries. Yeah,
I hopefully Green just continues to develop. And then at that other spot, like Vinny Gray, if he doesn't get better, like we're gonna be burnt chicken there.
maybe Andre Selden. I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
I don't
You
think he
got some
plays on the
excitement
outside.
there.
Yeah, I don't know because I will say I was thinking about that. I don't know if he's like an outside guy because he's just so small.
You would think, but like Jay Lou did it in college. I don't think he
But he was
can,
was he
can't
as
be.
was he as small as Andre? Andre Selden is like small. Like he's like
Is he like
Roby Coleman
5'8"
small.
or
Yeah.
how? How big is he? Like because Jay Lou was like 5'10".
Yeah, Andre Selden I don't think's over 5'8". Yeah, he's probably, I mean this is out of high school. He's 5'8", 153. So like, but
It might be 5'9" now.
you
I
did see Andres. Yeah, maybe you did see Andre Selden be really good in those camps, and like everybody, if you watch, like saw those videos.
He's got that attitude tue. Like he's just a more of a
Yeah,
competitive,
and he had
not
COVID
just
last year.
competitive, but hyper competitive.
He had COVID last year, so he didn't play. Like yeah, I know he like struggled with he got COVID and like really struggled with it. I would see him more in like the third down, like a nickelback. I think that's where he's going to excel and be really, really good for us.
There's just not enough room for that to be a consistent player. If you think he can be a guy, he's got to play outside.
But I don't know if he can.
I mean, we'll see.
We'll see is right. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at like the depth chart right now, and we just didn't really see because Vinny Gray sucked, and he just stayed out there. Like there wasn't like, all right, like let's get DJ Turner in there. Like we're just gonna leave him. Which makes you even more nervous.
They wrote them both.
Like could DJ Turner not play? I know who he did play is was that Eric Reynolds? He transferred to Utah State. He wasn't very good.
Well, he's playing more safety though, I think, from what I remember. Yeah, not that he would have been relevant in the equation. I don't know what was going on last year. It was chaos.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think that's the biggest concern going in, especially when you're talking about beating Ohio State. You got to be able to cover those guys in Olave and Wilson. And I mean, I would have just not want to know what would have happened last year if we played them. That would have been ugly.
That would have been a joke.
And I also think points. At the end of the day, it's a lot of it is like the scheme. Like you got a scheme to fit your players, and I don't think we did that particularly well, especially at that cornerback position where we did have a little bit of longer guys who maybe would have excelled more in some zone looks. And we just weren't really coaching to it. And so I think that's what I'm most excited with McDonald coming in is like, and he says this over and over, like people are saying like, what's your scheme? What's your scheme going to be? He's like, we're going to scheme to like our players. Like I'm not coming in with like, we're going to play a 3-4 and that's the end of it. Like, it's like, oh, how do I like take, like, for example, David Ajabo, like, look at this freak athlete. He's long, he's fast, he's strong. Where can I put him on the field where he's going to be the most successful? That's what like, and then let him do that.
Because we were base 4. We've been base 4-3 every play since probably 2015 when he came in. I mean, I remember him trying to switch up one time against Ohio State, and he went to like a 3-5 or whatever. He's playing 3 down linemen, but that's like we never. It seemed like we never played. It's like you're getting cooked in 4-3, and then you're gonna switch mid game. Like what are you?
And if you think about it, like that was
sucked. What he was doing.
Okay, what was the biggest problem? And this is kind of interesting. Is Josh Uche might have been one of the best defenders we've had in the last 5 years.
Never played.
He just never played because he couldn't fit the scheme. And like instead of scheming, instead of like, all right, let's get Josh Uche on the field more than I think he only played like 45% of the snaps his senior year. Yeah, and he still had like 7 sacks. We just said Don Brown was just like, hey, we can't fit you in. Sorry. Like, no, you can't do that.
No, like you fit him in. Yeah.
Yeah, fit him in. Make him like And then last year, okay, we might have been like a little bit more because Cody and Hutch are more like traditional 3-4 DNs who. But right now, I mean, like looking at some of the players who are gonna be playmakers, Jalen Harrell and Ajabo are gonna be much more of like that 3-4, like stand them up. Josh Uche like players, so I want to see what they can do with them. And so yeah, I'm just excited for we just needed a change up. I mean,
Yep.
bad, so we got that. And again, we could go on and on about this Michigan football team. At the end of the day, I think we're both more optimistic than the national media is about this team.
Well, yeah.
They've recruited well like the past couple of years. And a lot of those guys are kind of going to come into their stride now as juniors, as third-year guys. And so we're going to see what we have. Let's actually, before we close out, because I did want to kind of add this to the list, let's take a look at their schedule and just kind of talk about like what we see, how we see it going, what are some big games to look at. I believe we start out with Western Michigan. We should beat them handily. And if we don't, we should be nervous. I'm most excited for that game on September 11th. It's going to be at 8 p.m. in the Big House, night game under the lights.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that.
We should even look in for tickets for that. That'd be a sweet game. I mean, that's when you're going to, in my mind, really get a feel for like what's this team about. And I'm happy that we scheduled it more towards like the not the first game, so we kind of get those kinks out. But then we play Northern Illinois, which should be a steamroll. We play Rutgers is a sneaky good team. I think we should do a little thing on Rutgers because they're going to be a really good team. Vegas is going to disrespect them, and we're going to make money off Rutgers. They're not going to beat Michigan, though, coming to the Big House. And you got Wisconsin, who's going to be a tough team. That'll be a good one at Camp Randall. I think we should beat Nebraska. I think Northwestern's really overhyped. I don't think they're that good. I don't think Northwestern. Michigan State, I don't particularly think is going to be great. Indiana is going to be a fun one. Penn State.
It's going to be interesting. I don't know. But yeah, I think Indiana's not going to be good. But
we kind of go through the gauntlet at the end of the year with Indiana, Penn State. Then we go to Maryland, but then we have Michigan or Ohio State at home. So, I mean, I definitely see more than 6 wins. And yeah, there'll be some tough ones. But always playing Wisco across the way is tough. This team's gonna compete. Like, I don't think this team's gonna get beat bad by any of these teams. I'm excited to see what they bring to the table next year. Not next year, literally next month. So thank you for listening. This was the most fun we've had because we just do this on a regular basis with Michigan. So we were happy we got to share our thoughts with you guys. Stay tuned. The end of the week, we're going to have another team overview, a team that we like, a team that we're going to talk about. We're still deciding on which one. We have a couple that we're thinking about. And so, as usual, thanks for listening. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.